Two prop traders received identical training, identical funded accounts, and access to the same proven strategy. Both understood the setups, memorized the rules, and could identify profitable opportunities with equal skill. 6 months later, one trader was scaling to larger account sizes, while the other was back to repeating challenges. The difference wasn't intelligence, market knowledge, or trading talent. Trader 1 followed the system exactly as taught, while Trader 2 constantly modified entries based on gut feelings, adjusted position sizes based on recent results, and ignored exit signals when trades looked like they might recover. Same strategy. Completely different outcomes because only one trader had developed the psychological infrastructure to execute systematically under pressure. Most traders spend years searching for the perfect strategy, while completely ignoring the discipline required to make any strategy profitable. What you're about to discover is why your execution consistency matters more than your setup quality, and how discipline becomes the ultimate edge in markets filled with intelligent people using similar approaches. The execution gap. Every profitable trader discovers that knowing what to do and actually doing it under pressure are completely different psychological skills. You can backtest a strategy for months, understand its edge perfectly, and still fail to execute it properly when real money creates emotional pressure. The gap between knowledge and execution is where most trading careers die. Yet almost no one talks about training this specific psychological muscle. The execution gap widens during the exact moments when discipline matters most. When your system says take the trade, but you're scared from recent losses. When your system says cut the loss, but you're hoping for recovery. When your system says hold the winner, but you're terrified of giving back profits. These critical decision points separate systematic traders from discretionary gamblers, regardless of how good their underlying strategy might be. Most traders try to close the execution gap through more analysis, better setups, or increased confidence in their approach. This completely misses the point. The gap exists because your emotional brain takes control during stressful situations, overriding your rational planning regardless of how sound that planning might be. You need psychological training that specifically addresses decision-making under emotional duress, not more technical knowledge. Professional discipline development involves practicing your system responses during simulated emotional states rather than just during calm analysis periods. This means rehearsing your exit protocols when you're feeling anxious about losses, practicing your entry procedures when you're excited about potential profits, and training your position sizing decisions when you're frustrated from recent poor performance. The breakthrough happens when you realize that discipline isn't willpower applied to trading. Discipline is a specific skill set that allows you to follow predetermined plans when your emotions are trying to convince you to do something else. Like any skill, it can be developed through targeted practice, but most traders never isolate and train this capability separately from their market analysis skills. The compound effect. Small execution improvements compound exponentially over time because consistency affects every aspect of your trading performance. A trader who follows their rules 90% of the time will dramatically outperform a trader who follows their rules 60% of the time, even if the second trader has a better underlying strategy. Consistency turns average setups into profitable systems, while inconsistency turns great setups into losing accounts. The compound effect works because consistent execution allows your edge to manifest over time, while inconsistent execution creates random results that mask whether you actually have an edge at all. When you follow your system strictly, you get clean data about whether your approach works. When you constantly override your system, you get noise that makes it impossible to evaluate or improve your methods. Consistency also compounds psychologically by creating positive feedback loops that strengthen discipline over time. Every time you follow your rules despite emotional pressure, you build confidence in your ability to execute systematically. This increased confidence makes future rule following easier, creating an upward spiral of discipline that eventually becomes automatic rather than effortful. The mathematics of consistency are brutal for inconsistent traders. If your system has a positive edge, but you only follow it half the time, you're not getting half the results. You're often getting negative results because the trades you take based on emotion tend to be the worst possible timing. You pick the setups that feel good while avoiding the setups that feel scary, which is exactly backwards from what profitable trading requires. Professional traders understand that consistency isn't about perfection. It's about following your predetermined plan more often than you override it, then gradually increasing that percentage over time. A trader who improves from 60% rule following to 70% will see dramatic performance improvements, not just marginal gains. Small consistency improvements create large outcome differences. The system immunity. The most disciplined traders develop psychological immunity to the emotional pressures that cause others to abandon their systems during challenging periods. This immunity isn't natural talent or superior willpower. It's a trained response that treats system adherence as more important than short-term comfort, immediate profits, or temporary validation from being right about individual trades. System immunity develops through understanding that your strategy is designed to be profitable over many trades, not to make you feel good about every trade. When you internalize this perspective, individual losses stop feeling like system failures and start feeling like normal business expenses. Your emotional response to drawdowns shifts from panic to patience because you trust the underlying mathematics more than your immediate feelings. The immunity framework requires pre-committing to your system for specific time periods regardless of how you feel about recent results. This might mean committing to follow your rules for 1 month of trading or for 100 trades before allowing any modifications. This removes the temptation to change your approach every time you hit a rough patch, which is when most traders destroy their edge through emotional interference. Professional immunity also involves developing alternative sources of satisfaction that aren't dependent on trading results. When your self-worth and daily mood aren't tied to your account balance, you can execute your system without the emotional pressure that causes rule violations. This psychological independence allows you to trade your plan rather than your hopes, fears, or need for immediate gratification. The ultimate system immunity comes from understanding that markets will always test your discipline through periods designed to make you quit your approach. These tests aren't random market events. They're predictable psychological challenges that separate systematic traders from everyone else. When you can maintain system adherence through these testing periods, you join the small group of traders who actually profit from having discipline as their edge. Advanced immunity involves recognizing that your system's worst periods often precede its best periods, because markets cycle between conditions that favor and punish different approaches. Instead of abandoning your system during difficult times, trained traders often increase their commitment because they understand these periods are temporary while their systematic edge is permanent. Comment below and tell me which aspect of discipline you struggle with most: execution gaps, consistency building, or system immunity. Because developing discipline isn't about forcing yourself to follow rules through willpower. It's about training specific psychological skills that make systematic execution feel natural rather than effortful. Master these 3 aspects of trading discipline, and you'll discover that average strategies consistently applied will always outperform brilliant strategies inconsistently executed.